Welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And today I want to talk about why your magic isn't working, uh, you know, just kind of whatever I feel like talking about. And I was watching some videos on like the history of Lucifer uh, throughout the ages, through myth, through religion, through astrology. And you find out pretty quickly that words used to mean other things in different time periods, and a word is built of different archetypes, different ideas throughout centuries, throughout different cultures, and then that word changes its spelling, uh, changes meaning over time. And it's basically, you know, a word could kind of, the origin of the word could have many cross cultural influences, um, and then become popular in a certain time period. The definitions can change as well. And so then the symbols change. So that could be one of the biggest reasons why magic doesn't work for you very well, or why you have to do protection, or chaotic influences. The things get a little out of hand because you might be using a symbol that was made up to begin with. uh, and so I think with all this information sharing, all the witches and wizards out of the closet, everyone wants to be an expert or a guru on something. There's a lot of information being put out there, uh, and we're trusting that the person giving it to us is an expert in that subject or knows what they're talking about. And really, and with the magical arts, it's something that takes, I think, a lifetime of development and many lifetimes. Uh, so we can find commonalities. You know, ritual is what I like to call active meditation, because you're actively, through a series of movements and gestures, manipulation of objects, uh, that's helping you focus your concentration, your energy to a specific goal. Uh, but when you think about it, in a weird way, it's all made up. The myth has been meddled with for so long. The words, the meaning, everything that we do, it's kind of all messed up. So then you're just going with what you believe. You're going with what you choose to accept as a truth. Or, you know, and so belief works both ways. You need to believe in something, but what you're believing in was never real, anyways. And so you can go into science, you can go into religion, you can go into history, and what we find is people have different perspectives. And all these perspectives, yes, we can honor them, but everyone has a filter. Everyone has an agenda. You know, some people were definitely against the occult. Some people found, I think a lot of people found it sensational to talk about demons and evil. So, religion has a huge investment in proliferating the idea of human weaknesses, corruption, profane, evil. You know, like it has to create the shadow, it has to create its opposite in order to differentiate itself as something good and needed. So, in a weird way, religion is the manufacturer of evil and fear. Uh, and then we really have to really think about grimoires became popular and mysterious. Magic and evil became really popular in the Victorian era with books, fiction. Uh, that became a big deal. And the reality of it is, grimoires weren't for sale. Grimoires weren't published. Books of shadows weren't done like that. Uh, why were they? Well, books became popular. And what sells better than lies? What sells better than mystery? Wouldn't it be cool if there was a real witch and we got her book and we mass produced it? Real wizards, real alchemists. And so I would say one thing that's been very common through what I still consider we're still in the dark age of humanity is lies. Humans are always lying, bending the truth, altering it. Humans are always exploiting people. So, and we see this a lot on social media, fake lives, uh, all these fake doctors, fake nutritionists, fake authority figures, uh, trying to make a dollar, trying to gain popularity, have a social influence, a social currency. Uh, and they're all going down in flames. They're here living in the moment, raking it in, and that agenda, that foresight isn't there. The impact of of I wouldn't really want to say chaos, but I would say it dirties the water. It's changing the frequency. It's causing problems, you know? So I would say we live in the age. So I feel like what social media has done has shown us uh, how low people are willing to go to abuse tools at their disposal. So many fake tarot readers, so many fake witches, so many fake wizards, so many. And what makes them fake is they don't have real information, nor do they have like 20 years under their belt before they go public with the craft. So, magic is an art. And yeah, we all know when you start art and you might have some natural talent, it still looks pretty bad and you're using uh, really crappy tools like crayons and watercolor, like kids' versions and poster board. Your tools, your supplies, they're not the greatest. Your art suffers. Same with magic. Same with spiritual art. Same with your yoga practice. And so we have like adults at a kindergarten level mishandling tarot cards, not understanding the depth and use of the cards. So I would say not initiated, inwardly or outwardly, and they're just using it and creating stories for people to believe in and manifest for themselves, creating false narratives. And so it's it's a disservice. Uh, but what it's creating is a lot of disharmony, discordant energy uh, that impacts your life. And then everyone doesn't want to take responsibility for that. We say, oh, the tides, the astral tides are changing. Everything's in a flux. We we give ourselves an alibi. And could it be all the false psychics, all the false diviners, tarot readers, mystics, energy workers, maybe even well meaning, self deluded, because there isn't enough time in their development of their craft, understanding the ins and outs. Uh, it's creating a lot of discordant energy that then we blame demons. We then blame adversarial forces, secret enemies. And it really comes down to not, in a weird way, doing your research, but not having the ability to filter out. And so I think at first it's natural to believe the books you're reading, to believe this authority figure as someone who's, an expert, a teacher on the subject in the field. And then come to find out, you know, 10 years in the art is nothing. 20 years in the art is nothing. Uh, and so magic, psychic development, spirituality is a very much an inner process, and you'll be lucky to find anyone who has a developed practice, a devotion of development, of strengthening their abilities, and then having a well rounded education, having the ability to discern, to then be in a position of teaching. And so and so the occult remains a mystery due to all the lies. Hold on, let me let the dog out. So with conspiracy theories, uh, fear of large, global organizations using magic and mysticism to control all this fear based stuff, that's another layer of discordant energies going on. So, your real protection, your real need for silence, uh, is to kind of guard yourself, guard reasonability, guard practicality when you do your magical working, so you don't fall victim to the discordant misinformation, superstitions, and people who have a secret agenda against you. Like, it's really kind of shocking if you just observe everything going on within the occult world. I don't know what you call it when people say they were a witch and now they broke free and now they're Christian, praise Jesus, a turncoat, a traitor is what I would call them. But imagine, so we find out deep in people's subconscious, they have programmed beliefs. They might have grown up Christian, they might have grown up whatever, believing in Newtonian science. I have no idea. Believing in the solid realm of reality. So then they might go New Age, learn a little bit of magic and mysticism, and they go to an edge. And then fear is the natural response when you're to your edge, when you're going to break free from your limiting beliefs and your programming. And there's that instinct that kicks in that says, oh no, danger, turn around. If you have like the it goes against your programming, you're moving into the unknown. The only way to change is move into that unknown. Go to the realm where you don't know the answers, where it doesn't make sense. It appears to be chaotic. It appears to be a death. It appears to be dangerous. That's when your own psychology turns against you And because you don't understand yourself well enough, you don't understand your own filters. And within magic, you need to definitely have some psychology under your belt. You know, have the ability to analyze yourself, how ability to, assess things, self-reflect. So usually at this point, uh, they they self-sabotage. So you could be getting a card reading and the psychic is moving you into a new timeline, into a new reality of possibility where you actually could meet your soulmate, where things do work out for you. You're so programmed all the way for so long, you won't accept the door that the psychic is actually showing you is available. And so you self sabotage. Then you feel bad and guilty, and we start feeling the effects of what our shadow is, uh, all that repressed side of ourselves. And then we also feel the self sabotage, which is your biology, your nervous system, your psychology is always trying to keep you safe. So when you're going to move through that new door, when you're going to manifest that new reality, when you're hearing new information that's outside your ability to rationalize, fear is actually the appropriate response. But then we feel like we need to attack it or defend or run away. We go into fight, flight. And instead, you haven't been trained to sit still with it, to breathe, to gain a little distance and perspective. Slow down. You know, feel it out. Look at it from multiple angles. Try to clarify it. But instead, we explode. We self-sab. We mess up the energy and the frequency. We run and tell our neighbors. We gossip about it. And is gossiping bad? No. Gossiping is the first internet. Gossiping is literally the very first internet. So we don't need to shame it and consider it, label it bad or anything, or what you're doing. But we don't. But I'm going to put that responsibility back on you. You're sabotaging your psychic reading. You're sabotaging your energy healing. You're buying into narratives. You're buying all. When you look around, most people are not intelligent. Most people are not emotionally well. Most people are not mentally well. Societies have never been emotionally and mentally well collectively. Why would you think that illness of humanity isn't in the magical arts, isn't in religion, isn't in spirituality, isn't in gurus, isn't in teachers? So when you accept the impurities, the contamination, the corruption, the misinformation, the discordance, the disharmony in all the information you get, you can now start to purify it by filtering it out, finding what is true for you, what is working for you where you're at. And so it kind of slows down the process, but in the long run, you'll have better success, is what I'm saying. So this video was inspired because I started watching some content on Lucifer, and it shows this symbol of Lucifer, and it looks like an upside down triangle with like two hooks and a line. It's kind of famous, and it talks about it was basically extracted from a grimoire. And if you have any experience with summoning if you have any clairvoyance at all, which is kind of a requirement when you're working with spirits, and your level of clairvoyance or psychic ability to see doesn't have to be like in the movies, but you have to have a little bit. It has to be more than just seeing flashes of light. Okay, so traditionally, how you receive a sigil, the sigillum, which is basically the signature of the being, the entity that you're working with, you have to be able to see it in some form. So there's a lot of, and so this sigil in this book, we don't know how clairvoyant that person was. Uh, but basically, to get the signature, to get the seal of the entity has to give it to you. So let's say, great, an entity gave you a symbol to summons them with. Now you mass produce that, put it in a book, give it to other students, could you imagine the discordant energy, the disharmony, the change that's happening when other people are touching it and using it? Some people will, and so it gets contaminated really fast by the sharing of it and by the misuse of it. But the symbols and sigils are like personal links to you and that entity. It's going to be different for someone else. So when you try to systemize magic, it kind of doesn't work. And it kind of actually does the opposite. It oppresses magic. So I think there's a huge repression of occult ability because of all this. So that's why it's usually handed down teacher to student, oral tradition, in the presence of your guru, because it's a slow, long process of this type of stuff. It's a starting point. So I'm not going to condemn anyone from learning magic through books, trial and error over a lifetime. It's kind of what we're left with. But don't discount so I'm saying you need personal experience. You need to develop your abilities. So there's probably going to be lots of meditation, lots of breathing, lots of learning to control your energy. And so people are looking to rituals or looking to teachers or looking to information to fill in this gap of self-development, of reason, of because you're going to have some really awesome experiences from the get-go when you start playing with magic. But then how do we put that in the right box? How do we understand it correctly? So you might have a vision of an angel and go, oh, this is my personal angel. It might actually be your higher self taking the form of whatever will reach you. It might not even be your higher self. It could be a lower entity. So when we're dealing with collective symbols, you're actually tapping into the collective of humanity. So they're like doorways into the trashy part of human psychology. So you might get a very unevolved human masquerading as a demon, masquerading as an angel, masquerading as a power animal, masquerading as a guide, asking you to do offerings like alcohol, tobacco, possibly sacrifices. And so it's this discordant energy and this huge gap of experience that's actually putting you in danger. You were well intending. you would honestly like to learn the occult and you are sincerely seeking, but with a little bit of ignorance, it can put you in harm's way. And then we don't understand the harm that's happening to us. So then we blame, with our limited understanding, oh, it must be bad spirits. It must be a psychic attack from my friend. It must be an opal. And so we go to people, we go to other psychics who are also misinformed, and we have a bunch of narratives and no responsibility. And logic, reason, and practicality, the science of magic, has been thrown out the window. Uh, the fiction, the illusion, the fantasy is like band-aids. You know, they're a bunch of excuses that are pacifying our mind to try to understand what's happening with all this. And I'm saying there's a lot to it. So since I kind of went in that direction of accidentally attracting low-level human disincarnates, posing as guides, teachers, is that really such a far-fetched idea? Look at the internet with all the fake card readers, all the well-intending fake psychics who aren't intuitive at all, but they believe they are, and they're just feeding you a story. And you believe it and kind of halfway manifest it. You know, there's so many narrators spinning off their version of truth that isn't based on anything. Why do you think in the next realm, the realm of the dead, they're not doing the exact same thing? What do they get out of harassing you, influencing you? They're probably just feeding on your energy. So how do we fix all this? Bring in logic, reason, broaden our minds, really consider what was life like before radios, before TVs, before cell phones, before mass communication. You know, what was life like? You know, before technology, before education. You know, what were humans doing? What is the actual capacity of humans to understand? They're on a rock that we call Earth, that we think is in space, you know? So that bring in reason, bring in logic, slow down, look at things, look at your spell and go, maybe. So what I use for the symbol of Lucifer, I use a living symbol, the sun. I use a living symbol, yellow roses. I don't have to pick them. I don't have to do a ritual. I just bring my awareness and my intention to it. I've had experiences with Lucifer, and my experience is he's an angel of light. My experience is he brings art, he brings beauty, music, joy, and he feeds on all those beautiful things. He makes the world a better place. Has nothing to do with Christianity, has nothing to do, he is what he is. And so I don't need to go into her grimoire to summons him. I can just go outside and look at the sun. You know, I can turn on some music and listen to music. He likes all kinds of music. So to invite Lucifer into your life, enjoy the arts, whether it's painting, whether it's dancing, especially singing. You know, when I watch singers like on The Voice and America's Got Talent, the Lucifer energy, the being, the presence, the intelligence, is enjoying it with me. So you automatically invoke by how you live your life and what you're dialing into and tuning into. It doesn't have to be in a ritual setting as magic is presented to us. It's all magic isn't ritual magic like that. So, adjusting your attitude, write some poetry, get into a creative mindset, and you'll open your mind up to higher dimensions of positive beings, which are called angels. So, hopefully, this shed light on the magic of living and taking control of yourself, not falling into the delusion. I call it muggle magic, where you have to do techniques, rituals, spells, go to class, read a book. You're doing it the hard way. Be tapped in creatively. Uh, it's not chaos magic or no rules, but it's an authentic connection. Let's bring it down to reality. An authentic connection with the powers that be, and you should have a lot more success in your magic and be able to weed out the misinformation or the intentional disinformation. You should be able to see through that crap. Look at the symbol of Lucifer and go, that's not authentic. Why on earth would Lucifer want a 5-pointed star when that represents something that he's not about? Why would he want a goat's head? That's not. That's misinformation. That's intentional garbage. That's fear-based stuff. Has nothing to do with the light. He's the light bearer. It has nothing to do with the beauty, the creativity, and everything that he's about. Why would you bring in the opposite and expect good results? So you have to do that with all your rituals, with all your spells. Why would you do the Kabbalistic cross? Why would you? If you have a good reason why, and you know it, then go ahead and use it. So, why use a Ouija board? I'm dyslexic. A Ouija board doesn't work great for me. I just channel. I use a pen and paper. I write. Or I just listen. Or I just see. And then why use a spirit? I can think for myself. So, well-developed witches and mages don't rely on other spirits to do their stuff. That's like religious. That's like praying to God, asking a force outside of you. If you want to be. So the magical process is empowering yourself and coming to the self-realization, your thoughts, your feelings, your words, your gestures or actions have loaded with intention, hopefully more practical, get results. You get in your car, you drive to work. That was magic.